Bill Maher and Arianna Huffington start off with Maher admiring the chair he is sitting on and the 80s vibe of the club random set. The pair reminisces about an eclectic group of people who attended Maher's 60th birthday party that was held in the same room. Maher and Huffington have known each other for 30 years, and their friendship dates back to when Maher started hosting Politically Incorrect in New York in 1993. They discuss a science editor that Huffington hired for the Huffington Post, who also happened to be Maher's ex-girlfriend, and how that woman launched the Talk Nerdy to Me series. Maher regrets not taking Huffington's advice to get married and have children, to which Huffington responds by saying that people often project their desires onto others. She also shares her positive experience of being a mother, which is something she wished for Maher. They go on to discuss the concept of woke culture and its extreme nature. Maher notes that while there is a spectrum of gender identity, the default setting is typically male if a person has a penis, and suggests that there may be a mix-up at the factory on occasion. He expresses concern over the extreme actions of some liberals, such as making medical professionals apologize for saying the word woman. Maher also mentions the idea that cooking is not necessarily an important trait in a partner, and can lead to a focus on food over sex in a relationship. Despite these very topics, the hosts also briefly touch on Maher's past experience with cancel culture after 9/11, as Huffington informs him that the man responsible for the effort is now the Lieutenant Governor of Texas. Arianna Huffington asserts that people should not feel a sense of urgency to achieve everything before the age of 30. She points out that she started the Huffington Post at 55 and Thrive Global at 66, challenging the commonly held idea that one must achieve everything while young. They also discuss the misconception that people automatically become decrepit after turning 60, which Arianna disproves by mentioning that people can still be who they always were, with the exception of physical appearance. Arianna also mentions her upcoming shows and expresses her happiness to be on the show with Bill Maher. Arianna recounts her personal experience of initially not wanting to have children but feeling the pressure to do so in order to meet societal expectations. Maher praises Huffington for being a chameleon and evolving politically, citing her initial image as a Republican Lady Macbeth and her current progressive stance. They also discuss politicians and public figures who project an old or young energy, and emphasize that ageism is a case-by-case issue. Arianna talks about finding her old journals in her garage during the pandemic and realizing that the fears and worries that consumed her as a young person largely never came to pass. She also shares her upbringing in a small apartment with limited means and her mother's encouragement to pursue her dreams, which led to her attending Cambridge University. Arianna discusses her start in media and creating the Huffington Post, as well as her current focus on promoting behavior change for a healthier and more fulfilling life through her Thrive initiative. Maher and Huffington also briefly talk about their writing careers, with Maher admitting that he has given up on writing books and Huffington jokingly referencing how she used to gift Maher blog posts for his birthday. Maher expresses his love for writing novels and notes that in a country of 300 million people, selling 50,000 copies of a novel is considered a huge success. However, he points out that people do not read as much as they used to and their attention span is shorter than that of a goldfish, citing a study by Harvard and the University of Virginia. Maher and Huffington both agree on the negative impact of social media and technology on our attention spans and the mental well-being of young people. Huffington notes that the negative effects of technology have only gotten worse for kids over time. She mentions that social media has led to comparisons and the emphasis on likes, which she calls an evil thing. Huffington points out that this has brought out the worst in men when it comes to dating, as they have an endless supply of options at their fingertips without having to make an effort to connect with someone in person. However, they both agree that social media and technology have only augmented the problems that existed previously. They then bring up the concept of mean girl behavior and the negative impacts of social media on individuals, particularly women. Bill suggests that there is often an immediate suspicion and weariness among women when they meet each other, which is not present in men. Arianna agrees with Bill, mentioning how social media exacerbates the problem by making everything worse. They discuss a recent event where a girl killed herself due to cyberbullying, creating the need for parents to instill in their kids a sense of resilience. Social media has made it difficult for people to escape bullying because the phone follows individuals everywhere. People will be judged based on the worst thing in their lives, calling it fundamentally against everything that civilization is about. Furthermore, Arianna notes that she is optimistic that things can still change, but acknowledges that there is still a long way to go, as new generations become more sensitive and fragile. The two discuss the concept of spirituality and its connection to human behavior. Maher argues that a lack of historical knowledge is to blame for society's failure to fully grasp the importance of spirituality. This, he suggests, is because it is necessary to account for acts of love, altruism, and empathy that cannot be explained by the first three instincts of survival, sex, and power. Huffington introduces the idea of the fourth instinct, which she believes transcends the first three and accounts for human behavior that cannot be explained by them alone. She clarifies that she did not want to call it spirituality, necessarily, but rather this fourth instinct is something beyond the first three instincts. Maher expresses agreement with this notion and cites examples of humans cooperating and exceeding expectations in times of crisis. However, he also notes that not all individuals possess strength and wisdom, which are sometimes associated with spirituality. Huffington counters that it is important to believe that humanity possesses the capacity for heroism and growth, and that this must be recognized in order to give individuals the possibility for redemption and growth. Maher and Huffington agree that the current culture of canceling individuals for past wrongdoing ultimately denies them this possibility, and that this relinquishes the very aspect of humanity that makes us human. Despite their disagreements, Maher and Huffington share a common belief in the significance of spirituality in inspiring human behavior. Maher argues that these mean girl culture individuals claim to be social justice warriors, but are only interested in judging and finding fault with others rather than actually working to improve the lives of marginalized groups. Huffington agrees, stating that the energy spent on canceling and ostracizing others could be better used to address the many crises facing society, such as growing inequalities. They also touch on the issue of hypocrisy among left-wing figures, particularly regarding environmentalism. Maher points out that while he can tolerate being a bad environmentalist, he cannot tolerate being a hypocrite. Huffington agrees, stating that everyone does it to some extent, but that it looks bad to those who are in the middle or lean to the right. The conversation then turns to Elon Musk and his management style at Tesla. Huffington suggests that expecting employees to sleep in the office on beanbag chairs is not a productive approach, and that the CEO may not understand how human energy works. They also discuss Musk's controversial views on increasing the population and colonizing Mars. However, Maher praises Musk for his efforts to combat cancel culture on Twitter, which he believes is the hub of cancel culture. According to Maher, Twitter needed to be taken over to combat cancel culture and reclaim free speech, which had devolved into a platform for hate. While journalists who disagreed with Musk turned against him, he believes that Musk's efforts were a selfless act to combat the side of wokeness that is overly obnoxious and could potentially be detrimental to the Democratic Party. Maher mentions how Twitter is supposed to be a town square for open communication, but notes how punishing users for simply disagreeing with the CEO undermines that notion of free speech. In contrast, Huffington acknowledges that Twitter's CEO, Jack Dorsey, stumbled along the way, but believes that he can still transform Twitter. She also notes that Dorsey is an impulse genius, which can be both an asset and a weakness. The conversation then turns to a discussion of personal relationships and emotional pain. Maher asks Huffington about her divorce and how she coped with it. She notes that the 2 years leading up to the divorce were the hardest, and emphasizes the pain of wanting someone when they don't want you back. Maher agrees, noting the pilot light analogy where once it goes out, it can't be relit. The conversation ends on a light-hearted note, with Huffington jokingly challenging Maher's belief that there is nothing left in the metaphorical bottle of sexual passion. At the end of the Club Random podcast, host Bill Maher and guest Arianna Huffington discuss various topics. Arianna talks about her positive personality, which attracts nice people and avoids negative ones. She emphasizes the importance of not carrying bitterness and resentment, as they can affect one's health and increase stress levels. Arianna mentions a new study that suggests that the inability to forgive increases cholesterol levels due to the connection between emotions and inflammation. Bill also brings up the 3 fates of health, which are sugar, sleep, and stress. Arianna discusses how these 3 factors affect every disease and emphasizes the importance of developing healthier habits through small and simple steps. The conversation then shifts to the topic of homosexuality, and Bill expresses his confusion about how seemingly heterosexual men can suddenly come out as gay. Arianna points out that sexuality is a spectrum and can differ depending on how one was brought up. She differentiates between liberal and woke viewpoints and emphasizes the importance of accepting that sexuality can exist on a spectrum. The conversation ends as the hosts humorously discuss the idea of micro steps for masturbation. Check out the full podcast by clicking the link in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for listening to this podcast summary episode of the Pod Slice.